Hey guys, it's Hank here. Today we're going to talk about a very popular topic, which is basically how to increase your load size, how to increase your semen volume. There's a lot of different things you can do. We're going to break down the anatomy, what you can do naturally to help, and what supplements can even help with this, so stay tuned. Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about increasing the size of your load. For some reason, a lot of guys are interested in this. I'm not going to lie, I am too. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, we have to talk about basically the anatomy and physiology. How does this system work before we can actually go into how we can improve it? And so let's talk about some of the different anatomy. So number one is the testes. The testes actually produce the sperm. That's it. And so this is actually one of the least helpful things when it comes to actual semen volume, because your sperm makes up a tiny, tiny fraction of your actual total semen. What happens is the testes create the sperm. Sperm travels up something that's called the vas deferens, and I'll put up a little picture here so you can see some of this anatomy. Then through the vas deferens, it basically travels out through your penis, okay, out through the urethra, which is why if you have a vasectomy where they cut the ectomy, cut the vas deferens, you don't have any sperm in your semen, but your semen volume actually really isn't impacted by this, okay? Next, we're going to talk about the seminal vesicles, okay? So these are two sac-like structures that are kind of behind the prostate, kind of behind the bladder, and these make up 80% of the actual semen volume. So seminal vesicle. For some reason, guys don't know about this, but it is important, and that's where most of your seminal volume comes from. It creates things like the sugars, the prostaglandins, the other substances that help basically the sperm survive as it's trying to implement into the vagina. Okay, then there's also the prostate. So the prostate secretes some of the enzymes that help activate the sperm once it gets where it needs to go in order to maximize the chance of fertility. And then there's something that's called the bulbourethral gland, also known as Cowper's glands. And those are these two little, like teeny tiny little glands that actually are responsible for some of the mucus that help with the sperm motility, okay, or the sperm movement to keep things healthy. And so next we're going to address some FAQs, or some frequently asked questions. And so what is a normal volume? Well, a normal volume is approximately 3 to 5 milliliters, okay? Teeny, teeny, tiny, guys. And so approximately like 1/4 to 1 teaspoon, or about 1/6 of a fluid ounce. So it's really not very much at all. That is a normal volume. So don't be fooled once again by pornography, where these guys have these massive money shots that are oftentimes even faked, okay? That's not realistic. That's not representative of real life. And so why do guys want to increase their load anyways? Well, a lot of guys view this as almost like masculinity. It's almost like the size of your member. Like, you don't need a big member to please at least most women, but most guys still want it. Plus, I think, once again, I think that's where kind of porn corrupts things. But yeah, it's like a visual thing. But guys, you have to keep in mind that if you shoot very big or very small loads, those are actually associated with decreased fertility rates. And so shooting a lot of like seminal fluid doesn't mean you're like more fertile or more virile, okay? And so I often get asked, you know, how can I increase the size, or not the size, but the strength, like projection of the semen? And so that's actually done by primarily the bulbospongiosus muscle, which I've talked about a lot. Put up a little picture here, but it's this like muscle on the underside of the penis that when you are actually ejaculating, and you can feel that like rhythmic contraction of your penis as you're actually ejaculating semen, that's the bulbospongiosus muscle. And so if you can do so carefully, you could actually do Kegels, for example, and that can actually strengthen your actual ejaculation if you want to shoot further. So guys, let's talk about some ways you can increase. And so number one most important way you can increase, I would say, is hydration. And so 80% of your seminal fluid, your semen, is made out of water. Okay, so if you are dehydrated, there's not enough water going to your seminal vesicles to actually make a lot of seminal fluid. So you have to stay hydrated, okay? My general rule for how do I know if I'm hydrated or not? When you pee, it should be basically either clear or a very light yellow. That's how you know you're hydrated, in my opinion. Now, if you're taking something like a multivitamin that can actually change the color of your urine, obviously this rule doesn't apply. But in general, that's one thing you can look for, okay? Another way is actually quitting smoking. There have been multiple studies that have showed that you not only reduce your actual semen volume, but also the quality of your semen by smoking. And so I'll put up some of these studies here. So if you're smoking, quit smoking, and that can help with your semen volume. I also made a video about all the harmful effects of like nicotine, vaping, smoking, and I'll put a little screenshot up here. But if you haven't seen that video, you should really check it out, because smoking and nicotine are extremely detrimental to things like your erection quality, and if you're doing any kind of enlargement exercise, it can actually make you more prone to injury. So another thing you can do is avoiding masturbation, at least prior to sex, guys. And so if you are masturbating and ejaculating, that's, I mean, literally just going to cut down on the amount of fluid. Like, your body can only create so much fluid, and it does have in some ways some stores. And so like if you're emptying your stores, if comes time and you're trying to get intimate with your partner and you're trying to have a big load, if you've already emptied the load multiple times a day, there's no way you're going to have a big load, guys. That's just kind of common sense. And another thing you can do kind of conversely is actually edging. So if you bring yourself actually to the point of ejaculation and then stop before you ejaculate, that's what's actually going to get those different glands that are involved in like semen production. It's going to get them revved up. And so they're going to start increasing their amount of production in preparation for game time, okay? And guys, if you don't mind, take a second to just give me a thumbs up if you're liking this video, if you're learning anything whatsoever. If you find any of my videos helpful, it lets me know that what I'm doing is helpful and this stuff is worth my time to continue. So it goes a long way. And also, if you're interested, please consider subscribing. All right, guys, so let's get into some of the supplements that can actually help based on real science with increasing the amount of seminal volume that you have. So number one is zinc. And so zinc is a natural mineral that occurs. You can get it in supplements, but it's very important for especially prostate secretions and overall prostate health and semen quality. And so I'll put up some papers here, but here's an important excerpt from this paper. Our results revealed that zinc supplementation could significantly increase sperm volume, sperm motility, and the percentage of normal sperm morphology of infertile men, okay? So in this study, they were looking at men with decreased fertility rates. And so there you have it, guys. So zinc is something that can absolutely help with that. There's even some evidence that it can actually increase the taste of your semen. So something to keep in mind. One thing that a lot of people make a big deal about it is zinc can actually lead to copper deficiencies, okay? And so I'll put up some papers here, but yeah, and so copper, you actually need it in your diet for healthy functions, like especially things like nerve function. And so if you take too much zinc, it actually can lead to clinically depressed levels of copper. And so if you look at most of the studies, they recommend that you limit the dose of zinc that you have between 90 milligrams and 180 milligrams per day, says the researchers, okay? I would recommend probably about 50 milligrams of zinc per day if that's what you're gonna shoot for. It's enough where you get enough bang for your buck, but there's even studies showing, like I just pointed out, that even if you take that on a daily basis, it's not enough to cause a true copper deficiency. So hot take kink here, but you know, this is one of those things that I think one guy one day on Reddit posted about zinc causing a copper deficiency, and several people read that. And so then the second you mention zinc, people are like, no, it can cause a copper deficiency. I mean, and it can clinically cause that, but I just don't think it's as big of a deal as people think it is. And especially because, like, number one, if you need more copper, you can either supplement with a copper supplement, or you actually get quite a bit of copper from your normal diet. So things like shellfish, seeds, nuts, organ meats, whole bran cereals, whole grain products, chocolate, if I didn't just say chocolate. That all has copper in it, guys. And so you're going to be repleting any kind of stores that are mildly used when supplementing with zinc. But just be careful. Don't overdo it with the zinc supplements. So another big one is something called lecithin, okay? And it is basically a substance combined of different fatty acids, and many of them are actually found in your natural cell membranes. And so one thing that you may or may not know, but the Latin for lecithin is actually derived from yolk, the word for yolk. And so egg yolk is a very potent source of lecithin, but you just have to be careful because egg yolk also has a lot of like cholesterol and whatnot. There have been a lot of animal studies that have shown that this can actually increase your actual seminal volume. And so oddly enough, there's one study about roosters or you know, cocks that actually shows that when you supplement with lecithin, it actually increases your seminal volume. A lot of veterinary medicine, when they actually are using like animals for breeding, and so like semen volume and semen quality is important. That's where a lot of this information derives from. There's no clear human data that I have come across that says like, oh, taking this and then they measured semen volume or even fertility rate afterwards. But there is a lot of animal studies with this, and guys, trust me, this works, okay? There are two different types of lecithin, and so one is soy derivative. And so of course, like we made a product, our 1.0 version of Virility had soy lecithin in it, and you know, of course there were several people, oh my god, soy, you know, the phytoestrogens and blah blah blah. Like I swear a lot of people talk, they don't even know what the heck they're talking about, just to talk, to try to sound intelligent, but that's neither here nor there. And so, you know, we regardless, I'm kind of jumping the gun right now, but you know, if you're going to use lecithin, I would recommend not soy-based lecithin is kind of the bottom line. There's sunflower, which is a high quality lecithin product that works very well. And so a couple of things is that, really just one thing, lecithin can interact with something called diclofenac. And so if you are taking diclofenac, be careful taking the lecithin because you can have interactions and it can make it less effective. So the next supplement is pygium. This has been proven in studies to actually increase prostate health and actually decrease your risk of prostate cancer when you supplement, believe it or not. And so it primarily works through increasing both your prostatic and your seminal vesicle secretions. And so it's going to increase your seminal volume. Anecdotally speaking, one thing that you see is like a lot of the like pre-ejaculate, if you will. And so like if you were to be masturbating, for example, and you're getting close to climax, before you climax, you see that kind of clear fluid starting to leak from your penis, you will absolutely get increases of that with the pygium because of that seminal vesicle, prostate, and even Cowper's gland stimulation from the pygium. So it is something to keep in mind, okay? Vitamin E and vitamin D3. And so a lot of these fat-soluble vitamins can actually increase the size and the quality of your load as well. The one thing I would say is when you are using fat-soluble vitamins, so ADEK, those actually can build up in your system and cause toxicity to your liver and even your kidneys. And so you want to be careful when you're supplementing that you're keeping those down to a moderate dose. And so another big one is actually celery seed extract. In rat studies, they have been shown to increase spermatogenesis, and so basically increase the semen quality and even the semen size, like this study here. And actually, it's even been proven to actually help improve the taste because it can actually help with the pH and the actual like acidity of the actual semen, so it can make it taste less salty. And so the celery, you know, one of the doctors says is very high in vitamin C, which can help flush out that salty flavor, okay? The last one that we'll talk about is actually maca. It's a root extract, basically in the highest level of evidence that we have. So double blind, meaning neither participant knew what they were taking. Placebo controlled, meaning you didn't, not just like one person took something, the other people didn't. It's like they both took something, just one was the real stuff and one was the fake stuff. It showed that maca improved sexual desire. Well, you know, why does that matter? Well, when you're improving your sexual desire, you're thinking about sex more and you're triggering more of those stimulation of the glands. And so that constant stimulation by having more sexual desire can actually increase your production of semen. So a general warning that especially for guys that are not in the family planning process right now, like this stuff will literally make you more fertile. So the more fertile you are, the higher the chance if you are in a heterosexual couple, you are going to get somebody pregnant if you are not being careful. So if you are using any of these supplements to help increase your load size, then you need to be very careful, extra careful, because even things like increased pre-ejaculate. So before you even get to climax, if you're team pullout, you know, you can actually increase the chance of getting somebody pregnant, which if you don't want to do that, not a good idea, okay? Okay guys, so those are some of the supplements you can use. You can buy those independently, or, you know, that's literally what this product is, Virility, okay? I broke down each of the products there, and so just, you know, briefly going through what we use here, and so obviously you can tell that this is based on real science, okay? Here's the product here. Yeah, whatever, it's not going to show up, guys, but I'll put a link and a screenshot up here. And so, like I was talking about with the zinc, we use 50 milligrams of zinc. It's in here, and so it's enough where even if you double your dose, it's really not going to be enough to push you into that point of getting copper deficiency, okay? With our sunflower lecithin, we're at 3,000 milligrams, which if you look at some of the studies and especially do some animal model conversions, that's kind of one of the ideal doses that's used. The pygium, 200 milligrams, a good solid dose in there. So we do not include any of the vitamin E and vitamin D. The reason for that is a lot of guys are already supplementing with multivitamins. A lot of guys are already getting those vitamins from other sources. And so this is not something that I wanted to put in here to increase the risk of toxicity. If some guys are like, well, you know, I take 4 of these and I shoot, you know, major ropes, maybe I should start taking 8 or 12, and they actually build up a vitamin toxicity. And so we did not include that in this formula on purpose, okay? With our celery seed extract, we have 1,000 milligrams in here, guys. It's enough where it makes a difference. And then with our maca, we have 250 milligrams. So guys, a lot of thought and a lot of research went into trying to make this the best formula on the market, okay? Now, what is my experience with it? So I will tell you that my significant other does not care for seminal fluid at all, okay? Especially the taste in the mouth. And I will tell you that for the first time ever I was taking this, she actually did not complain about the taste and actually said it wasn't that bad, guys. So, you know, this is, you know, my N of one, my anecdotal story. But as far as taste, I can tell you this absolutely does make a big difference, okay? And with volume, like I feel like I don't even need to go into that. It at least doubles my volume. It's thicker, it's bigger, and there's a lot of people, if you go on our subreddit, they talk about it. They have had good success with this. And so you can buy all that stuff independently if you want, or we have specifically priced this to beat any of the competitors in the market. I highly advise you to check it out. So it's on leviathansups.com. I'll put up the screenshot here. And of course we have our VIGOR here as well. So this is something also I use real science, real data, not hocus pocus BS to come up with a formula to maximize your nitric oxide, to maximize erection quality. If you're doing any kind of PE, maximize recovery. And you know, it's nighttime hink here. It's time for my scoop. All right, let's get back into it. So what can cause decreasing semen volume? So if you've always had a very low semen volume, you know, there is something that's called retrograde ejaculation. What that means is that normally when you ejaculate, it comes out from the glands, down and out through your penis, through your urethra. But instead what it can do is it can go backwards up into actually your bladder. So you can end up like basically peeing it out later. And so if you ejaculate, some people think it's like a phantom orgasm or a dry orgasm. Sometimes it's just retrograde ejaculation. And so you need to be careful with that because there are certain medical conditions like diabetes. If you've had any kind of pelvic floor surgery, pelvic floor injuries, even if you're using some certain medications, it can actually lead to retrograde ejaculation, blood pressure medication. So something to be aware of. Normal aging, guys, like anything, as you age, some of your processes start to slow down. And so as you get older, typically semen volume starts to decrease and typically semen quality starts to decrease as well. Poor health and poor nutrition, guys. I talked about some of the supplements, but you need both macro and appropriate micronutrients that are gonna really help with your actual semen quality. So if you have a crap diet, you're gonna have like crap semen quality, okay? So it is important to get healthy micro and macro nutrients. One thing that I've also found helpful, I'm not gonna plug any brands, but like the green micronutrient drinks, I have actually recently started taking one, and I think it actually helps. That is something to keep in mind, especially if if you eat like, you know, cheeseburgers and fries every day, you're not eating a lot of veggies, you can supplement with some of those green micronutrient drinks, which can help. Guys, if you're ejaculating too often, it's going to decrease your semen volume. And certain genetic factors, some people have just smaller size of their seminal vesicles, or they just don't work as efficiently. So all those can cause changes in your seminal volume as well. So guys, if you are concerned about your semen volume, or you think it's smaller than you should be, retrograde ejaculation, please go see a doctor, okay? If you're concerned at all, even about your fertility, go see a doctor and get your actual semen quality tested. It's easy, it's pretty cheap to do that, guys. You can do them at a lot of different clinics. Another thing is, most women don't care about load size, especially if it's going to be inside of them or in a condom, okay? And most women, you know, or, you know, even men in some cases, you know, whatever, do you, you know, they might not want a big load size. So just, I mean, I would just advise you to talk to your partner. And if you're trying to take, you know, Virility and get like these massive load sizes, they might not like that and might not appreciate that. So just be aware of that. Just have some consideration for your significant other. So what are my conclusions, guys? I think of kind of the things that you can do that are most helpful, that are not supplement related: hydrate, sleep, good nutrition, edging, and avoiding excessive masturbation, avoiding smoking, okay? For supplements, you know, I'm not gonna run through all the lists, but things like pygeum, lecithin, the maca root, the zinc, all of those things can help. They all happen to also be available in our Virility supplement, which is available now, especially our 2.0 version, which uses sunflower lecithin. So once again, just talk to your partner, make sure that, you know, they're on board with you getting a bigger load, or at least aren't gonna complain about it. If you need to reach me, patreon.kink. Please check out leviathansups.com. We also have our VIGOR on Amazon. It is on Amazon Prime. It is in stock now. It's getting excellent reviews, so go check it out. If you need any kind of enlargement products that work based on real science, guys, check out my other videos, but also check out peakmalephysique.com. That's primarily BD's website, but we are having priced items on there that I guarantee you will blow any of the competitors out of the water, which is why our stuff is selling so quickly, guys. So check it out. Hopefully this video helps some people out. Appreciate you guys. Peace and love. Catch you on the next one.